chairperson for the Republican Party here in the state of Connecticut, J.R. Romano. We're going to bring him on. He's talking about a fundraiser that's gotten under Democrat chairperson Nancy Wyman's skin. We heard a little bit about this. Let's bring him on. J.R., good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
How's everything going this morning?
Good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
What got under your skin?
No, not under his skin. What got under former lieutenant governor and current Democrat state chairperson?
What about it?
Nancy Wyman. What got under her skin, JR?
Well, we decided to bring in James O'Keefe. And for those listening that don't know, Mr. O'Keefe obviously is a part of the exposed CNN videos that have been leaked. It's made national news. And of course, you know, Gary, I often laugh. When the Democrats are upset with me, it means that I'm doing my job. I love when a Democrat always tells me how I should run the party or how we should operate. And it's always under the guise to keep them in control. So we bring in James O'Keefe for a fundraiser, and they're upset. And the irony is they're upset because they claim, which by the way has been litigated, and Mr. O'Keefe has been vindicated, that he doctors videos. They have doctored videos about me. They've doctored videos about Rob Sampson. The Democratic State Party have literally done exactly what they're accusing Mr. O'Keefe of. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, but the Democrat Party has a history of that.
Well, of course. Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. I was going to say that myself. Yes. You're right.
So they were. They issued a statement, and this is the beauty. Every one of your listeners. Now it's a fundraiser. It's a low dollar event. You can go to our website if anyone's interested in coming. It's going to be in Shelton, Connecticut tomorrow.
How much is it per plate, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm sorry.
How much is it to go?
$50.
Oh, you're right. Geez, I thought it was going to be like $200. Okay, $50 is great. Okay.
So it's going to be in Shelton, Connecticut tomorrow at 7. You can go on our website, ct.gop, or our Facebook page. It's there. But I think the part about all of this, which really makes me laugh, your listeners right now, do you really think they care? Or do you think they care about the fact that it's gotten more expensive to live in this state? Or do you think they care about the property tax values or how our economy's been stagnant for the last 10 years? But no, what the Democrats focus their attention on is these emotional kind of like personal accusations and personal attacks. Well, and I've been on this show before talking about the impact of taxation, talking about, no, but what do Democrats want to talk about? James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe had zero to little impact on anyone living in this state.
So that's the battle that Nancy Wyman is choosing. She's choosing who the guest is. She doesn't want to debate you on policy in the state of Connecticut that's taken this state down, you know, a terrible and road. You know, they want to talk about the guest at this dinner.
Correct. And that's what I've consistently said. You're
crazy.
Your listeners may be interested in hearing James O'Keefe's perspective. Great. But at the end of the day, what's more impactful to a single mom in Meriden, Connecticut, or a single mom in Derby, Connecticut, is how it's going to be more expensive every day for her to buy groceries. How the next step is for the Democrats to put tolls in to make her commute a little bit harder. And this is the part of the conversation that Democrats never want to talk about. I have consistently said, I want everyone to think about a single mom in Meriden, Connecticut working as a dental hygienist. They're probably making anywhere between $50,000 to $65,000 a year. Mm-hmm. That single mom is going to be asked by the Connecticut Democratic Party and of course the elitist governor, Ned Lamont, to pay anywhere between $800 and $1,200 a year just to drive to work. That, never mind the recreational stuff, never mind the soccer games, never mind the cheerleading, you know, what that single mom is going to be asked to do, because the Democrats can't get their fiscal house in order, is to pay a little bit more after paying more at the grocery store, after paying more to trade in their car, after paying more to download videos for their children to watch. It's not enough, according to the Democratic Party. So instead of talking about and debating the merits of those financial issues and how they're impacting families, they want everyone to get outraged and call people names and label people. And this is exactly what the fundamental problem with the Democrat Party is right now, because they can't talk about their policies being successful. So what they're doing is they're trying to, I always make the joke that it's the shiny object, whether it's the shiny object in Washington, D.C., or it's we're going to claim everyone's a racist, we're going to claim everyone's a sexist, because they can't debate policy.
Well, that's always the answer that they give. You're a racist. Right. If you disagree with somebody, if you disagree with a Democrat, you're automatically labeled a racist by them.
Correct.
Well, let me tell you something.
This is the funny part about it. No one understands. It didn't start.
Let me tell you something. This is something that gets me when they do something like this. Okay, when they mention that we're racists. I'm no racist, all right? But I'll tell you something right now. I have talked to many, many people, and I'm doing it all the time. And let me tell you something. They got to get their act together, period. And I would tell that to anyone that feels the same way. And this is the problem that we have right now here in the United States. We really do, especially here in Connecticut.
They're more interested in dividing us than uniting us. And what I always laugh, Gary, and I know you guys obviously know Themis Claridis, right?
I know.
She's a tremendous leader.
I know her very well, yes.
When Themis decided to grade the governor at her Bush dinner and say that, and I'm paraphrasing, but her comment was that Governor Ned Lamont, nice guy, but she thinks he's incompetent and would grade him as an F- in terms of performance as governor. Well, and when you look at the record, she's not wrong.
No, she said that even on our show. She said that on this very show as well.
And for Democrats, that comment was beyond the pale. We need to bring op-eds. We need to bring civility back. These Republicans. Hold on a second. You've called Themis Claridis, Matt Lesser, a state senator now, called Themis Claridis a sexist because she didn't support a bill that he wanted.
Yeah, that was a few years ago.
We've been called Nazis and white supremacists, and yet properly grading the poor performance of the Democratic Party and their leader, Ned Lamont, somehow is beyond the pale. This is exactly the problem with the Democrat Party in the state.
It goes right back to what you said. Do as I say, not as I do.
Right, because you can't how he's managed the toll issue, how he's lied to the public, how he's changed his mind on commissioners, how he's decided to throw himself a Woodstock and pay for it himself. Meanwhile, he's soaking and crushing the middle class in the state and completely clueless about his impact because, frankly, he's grown up privileged and wealthy. He has no idea how hard it is for a single mom or a family in this state that are struggling to make ends meet. No clue how his policies are hurting those people. And my favorite, because my family was in the restaurant business, he had a bipartisan bill that was going to fix language. That it was passed unanimously almost, except for a couple of hardcore leftists in the Senate. And he vetoed it because the unions told him to. It is so tragic and sad when you can't actually debate policy. The Democrats have, and this is the measure of how terrible they've led the state, that they turn to the accusations. And I mean, I remember during the debate over Obamacare, we were called racist, right? We hate this policy because of the president's skin color. Meanwhile, Republicans were 100% right now that we're 10, 20 years in. It hasn't been affordable. It's caused prices to rise. The coverage is terrible. And yet somehow the Democrats still blame us for everything.
Yet we have no majority in anything.
Correct.
There's irony. That's the very definition of irony. Blaming the Republicans when we don't have a majority. Our policies has been inflicted by a one-party rule for the last 40 years. If you don't like the way how things are going in this state, look at the people who have been in control for 40 years, folks. 40.
So to any of your listeners out there, and I have a podcast and I talk about this all the time. I know a lot of us are frustrated in how we interact with our friends who happen to be Democrat. And again, we're not talking about like rank and file Democrats, but the hardworking people that are union members at Sikorsky's, or an EMT or a nurse, but we have to explain, and I know we get passionate about it because we understand, but we have to explain to them the impact of voting for a Democrat when they're complaining and remembering, like, listen, I'm sorry, but because of that Democrat representative, that's why groceries are more expensive.
JR, keep in mind that the rank and file state employee, They're being told propaganda by the hierarchy of their union leadership.
Every day.
And they believe it. A lot of most of them, not all of them, are buying it hook, line, and sinker. They put a fear factor in them. Oh, you can't. Republicans want to take away your job. I've heard it all. But there are some. There are some good news in this. There are some rank and file state employees who are onto that, and they know the truth.
Well, thank God, and I know it's a double-edged sword, but thank God for the ability for social media, where we, like, for example, having the ability to have a podcast where I talk about issues. I talk, and I know that we're changing subjects a little bit. We're bouncing around, but the one that I just did yesterday, I talked about, and I'm calling them the Fasano letters. You're going to love this, Gary. Since 2013, Senator Len Fasano has been sending letters to Denise Merrill demanding investigations into AB fraud. And every time she'd send him a letter back saying not her responsibility. Paraphrasing.
What kind of fraud? I didn't hear that.
All the letters.
What fraud? AB fraud?
Absentee ballot fraud.
Oh, absentee ballot fraud. Okay, thank you.
Since 2013, Senator Fasano has been sending her letters. And there's all these, it's not my responsibility. And now we have this situation in Bridgeport. And
yet again,
you sit here and you say, and I'm actually, hashtags Fasano letters. No one from the press wants to see them.
Yeah.
It's one of these things where we're prioritizing, and this is
probably because Denise Merrill knows it exists, and she knows. She's got to know what's there, what's going on. It falls under her purview, for crying out loud.
This is what makes me laugh, though. The front page of the JI, the Record Journal. No, the Record Journal.
Well, the JI is Journal Inquirer, right? JI?
The JR is the Journal. Yeah,
JI.
I think it was the Record Journal.
Okay.
The Record Journal's front page was the James O'Keefe story. Not AB fraud, not grocery tax, not bag tax, not anything the Democrats are doing to hardworking families. It's the James O'Keefe story.
Yeah, well, that's the Record Journal's in Meriden, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and what do you think Meriden is? I mean,
but this is exactly the problem.
It's Democrat leadership.
Right? I deal with this on a regular basis. When and this is what I have to laugh. Chris Dodd endorsed Joe Biden. I was interviewed by the Hartford Courant for 40 minutes. I'm not even in that article.
Wow.
Now, you bet your bottom dollar that if a leading Republican endorsed Trump, you absolutely would have Democrat voices in that story.
Yeah.
But you know why I wasn't in there, Gary? Because my quote was, it doesn't surprise me, and everyone listening needs to remember, Chris Dodd traded in his political position for financial benefit. Remember the Friends of Angelo? He got discount. He got a reduced interest rate on his mortgages. Remember that?
That's right. And he took a job with Hollywood. And he took a job with Hollywood too after he retired.
Yeah, and of course he's going to endorse Joe Biden, the vice president that traded in his political position to get his son $1 billion deal with the Chinese government and then a $50,000 deal with the Ukrainian energy company. Of course they're going to do. That was my quote.
Yeah, I mean he goes.
That it's not there.
He goes back a long way with Biden as well. Hey, listen, we only got about 30 seconds, so go ahead.
Well, listen, I always enjoy coming on the show. If anyone out there, would like more information, our office line, 860-420-1920, or go to our website. We'd love to have as many people as possible to listen to the story about how James O'Keefe exposed CNN.
All right, JR, we got to have you back more often. We'll talk to you maybe in a couple of weeks. How's that sound?
Thank you.
Thank you, JR.